Welcome to the Grace and Grit podcast, made for women who want their healthiest years to be ahead of them, not behind them. Join your host, Courtney Townley, right now as she breaks down the fairy tale health story you have been chasing all of your life into sensible action steps and lasting change. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Grace and Grit podcast. This is your host, Courtney Townley. And today we're going to talk about something that I just know is on the heart and minds of so many midlife women, which is sleep. And if there was only one behavior change that I could help a woman with in devotion to her health and well-being, it would be on helping her to get better sleep. For so many reasons. It just makes us nicer people. And I always say there's like no problem on the planet that a good night's sleep can't solve. But when it comes to our health, it's really where the magic happens. We always say, like, the brain cashes out, the liver detoxifies, the immune system fortifies, our hormones recalibrate, our tissues repair. There's a lot of beautiful things that happen in our sleeping hours. And sleep can be really freaking hard when you are in the perimenopausal or postmenopausal years. In fact, this is a topic that I just feel like comes up in every single coaching call that I do with individual clients, but also with my community at large. Like when we have group coaching calls, there's inevitably at least one person who wants to be coached on sleep. So I know this is relevant. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding this topic. And while we've done a lot of episodes on this show about sleep specifically, I just feel like this topic will never go out of style. It's one that needs to be revisited often and much. And today I have invited back to the show for, I don't know, like the billionth time, my friend Laini Gray, who I just have mad respect for. And I just enjoy being with her. So those are the two reasons I'm actually inviting her back. We always have great conversations. But she also has a very beautiful way of simplifying complex topics, especially when it comes to hormones, biochemistry, these types of things, which of course plays a massive role in our ability to get quality Z's later in life. So if you could use a little help or a lot of help in the sleep department, this episode is for you.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And this is one of my favorite things to talk about.
Oh, yay. I didn't actually know that. So that's great.
It's also it's one of my favorite things to do as well.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, if I could have like a PhD in something, like without a lot of effort, I think it would be sleep. Like I am just a rock star sleeper, mostly. I've definitely found some disruption in my perimenopausal years. But how's your sleep these days?
Yes, amazing.
It is
amazing.
Of course.
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah.
And you're postmenopausal. Like you are in menopause. Like you are past
the period phase,
all that
past
chaos.
all of those. Yes. So my sleep has now returned to nice and wonderful and deep and restorative. And I love it so much.
Okay. Before we get into the juicy bits of this conversation, I think it's important that we remind people what you do in the world.
It depends on the day, but I am a functional health practitioner specializing in women's hormones and gut health. My goal really is to help women take control of their hormone health and their overall health so they feel better, sleep better, have more energy, and live a life they love.
I love it. Yeah. And you do a lot of your work through testing. Like you look at hardcore data to understand where the disruption might be coming from on a biochemical level. Yeah. And then you have conversations that are obviously going to help resolve that.
Yes, definitely.
So for anyone listening to this today, if you feel like you're doing all the things, and by all the things, you're going to have a much better understanding of what that means by the end of this conversation. But if you truly are doing all the things and you also still feel wildly disrupted, I cannot encourage Laini's services enough to just kind of help pinpoint what you might be lacking or where you might need support on a hormonal level. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about, I just want to kind of start this conversation by reminding the audience, because you and I have these conversations a lot about sleep, about training, about food, about so many things. And problems like sleep are never like one dimensional.
Right.
It's never one thing.
No.
It's usually lots of things.
Yes.
So to kind of enter these waters, let's just kind of talk about the shifting hormonal landscape that happens at midlife that makes sleep more challenging. Like
Yeah.
what's the cause of that?
Yeah. So backing up a little bit, talking about our menstrual cycle, and we have these ebbs and flows of estrogen and progesterone, right? And what most of us will experience is that we've run, and done all the things, and we were staying up late in college, and then we're staying up late with kids, and then we're staying up late getting things done. And we somehow we sleep for 5 hours, and then we still have all the energy we need the next morning. Right. And a lot of us survive on this for a long time. And we talk about how does that work? Well, our hormones, our estrogen and progesterone are really these superpowers to keep us resilient. Right. And as we go into midlife, one of the first things that happens is progesterone starts to decline. And what that shows up as, I don't sleep as well, or maybe I'm having hot flashes at night. Maybe I'm a little constipated. Maybe something else is, just a little bit disrupted. But that shift in hormones really affects our resilience, our ability to sleep without disruption and to have the energy we need the next day.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this too is I feel like there's this story that we tell ourselves that, well, I used to do all these things and I was getting away with it. Like we have that belief system that I was getting away with it. And I always kind of giggle when I hear that because I'm like, truth be told, we're never getting away with anything when it comes to physiology.
No.
But I do think that, and I know you feel this way as well, because we've had these conversations, that the gift of midlife is that we almost become hypersensitive to things that were actually never working.
Completely, because we seem to be getting away with something, but really the body's keeping the score.
Yeah.
And that manifests at a different age and a different way for every woman, right? That might be periods that are really crampy or crazy or exhaustion or all these things. But somehow we still think we're getting away with it. And then when midlife comes, when the hormones start to shift, all of a sudden it's like, you're not getting away with it. We're going to remind you of all the things you said you were going to do, all the things that you thought were good ideas. Now it's critical that we actually put these into practice.
Yeah. And on top of the hormones, just I always say, estrogen and progesterone are leaving the party.
Yeah.
Damn it.
They are.
Stay around, you guys. But they are departing. And then on top of it, we tend to be in this age and stage, in the most stressful time of our life, meaning we're balancing a lot of responsibilities. We're making a lot of really big life decisions. And the two hormones that you just mentioned, the estrogen and progesterone, actually help us to manage stress.
Yeah.
So when they are no longer hanging out with us, we aren't really so awesome on a biochemical level at managing the stress response.
Yes, completely. Because when those estrogen and progesterone start shifting and declining, we are less resilient to stress. So cortisol becomes an even bigger, fights against us. Our insulin, we don't manage insulin as well with our hormones shifting. So weight becomes a little bit hard. And if you think about both of those, hormone, weight gain and stress, sleep is really important to manage both of those.
Right.
So we have to put all of the pieces together because they all are so interconnected. And you can't do just one without the other. And we can't just blame hormones because they're just kind of waking us up to what was really going on.
Right. Yeah. They're beautiful messengers, right?
They are.
We just
literally
for a while.
Literally. They're just telling us.
Come full circle.
Yeah.
So my mom she has this phrase that I love so much. She says that, because she worked in the medical field for years, and she would work with some physicians who had just wild theories when a client would come in with kind of a common condition, right? And so my mom's saying was always, when you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras, right? Go for the obvious.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to start our recommendations or kind of our pathway of helping the listener from the things that are directly within their control to start. Without going out and getting any testing or getting any kind of fancy supplements or anything that they very well may need.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to start with the horse conversation before we go to the other things that are a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more costly, certainly can be relevant. But let's just kind of start at that base level. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about stress. Let's go a little bit deeper into that because stress means so many things.
It does. Yes.
Okay. So tell me how you talk about stress.
Well, First, if we're just going back to the sleep conversation, I like to remind everybody we're really intricately tied to our circadian rhythm, to the way the sun rises and sets every single day. So when the sun gets up in the morning, that actually triggers this natural release of cortisol in our bodies to wake us up and say, hey, let's get going. And that's a good stress. That's the stress that says, hey, get up, let's fight inflammation, let's have energy, let's get the things done, let's have some blood sugar regulate. All of the things that cortisol does in the morning are really good for us.
It's kind of a motivator, right?
100%. If you're dragging to get out of bed, you're probably missing that cortisol wake up piece of the puzzle. So, that cortisol gets us up, tells us to move around, all of that energy. You always talk about the motion creates, right? We're going to start moving and all of these things. And then if you think about what happens in the day, the sun starts to set. And as the sun starts to set, we should naturally be starting to slow down so that our cortisol production goes down, because when it does, it says, hey, tag team, you're it, melatonin, you're on. And then melatonin rises so that we have all this great repairing things that can happen at night.
And melatonin really helps us to prepare for sleep and for quality sleep.
Yes, and it's an antioxidant. So we need it during sleep to do all of the detoxing and everything that you were talking about. Yeah. So it's a really powerful hormone. But here's the catch. Melatonin and cortisol cannot be high at the same time.
Yeah.
So if cortisol is high, melatonin's low.
Yeah.
End of story.
Cortisol is kind of like it's like the favorite child, not really, right? Like we kind of give it so much attention in terms of the way we live our life.
Yeah.
It's like we're always giving cortisol the car keys.
Totally.
And melatonin gets neglected because we're not winding down at the end of the night for so many reasons. Like some of the reasons that melatonin doesn't kick in are because of what?
We're stressed. Right.
Yep,
and this is just part of life. We're having dinner at 7:00 at night. We're doing homework. We're finishing up things. We're doing laundry. All of a sudden it's 9:00 at night and the sun's been gone for a couple of hours.
Yep.
Then we're on our phone browsing all of our social media. Then we get on the TV. If you watch news, right? Nothing is relaxing on the news at night. So if you're watching a murder mystery or something that's really cortisol antagonizing, those kind of things, or you just stay up, the lights are on, you're stressed out. Most women aren't going to bed till 11 or 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you have found this as well. A lot of my clients will end up staying up much later than they actually want to because it's their time. It's the time that they get to be left alone and they get to zone out doing whatever their activity of choice is. They're not really doing anything productive. They don't need to stay up, but there's kind of like a mentality that goes along with it that, well, this is the only time I get in the day, so I'm going to take it.
Yes.
And then the consequences, they only get maybe 4 hours of good sleep or...
Completely. And it's really hard to think about, but if we talk about the sun and the moon and this whole situation, right?
Yep.
Really that sunrise in the morning, that's when we should be having our me time. If we want to work with our body's physiology, how we're actually designed would be to use that natural cortisol surge in the morning before the kids are up, because guess what? Theirs doesn't surge until later in the day.
Oh, those little stinkers.
Little stinkers. That's why kids have a hard time going to school early in the morning because they really don't have the same rhythm.
Oh, we are so in that phase in our house.
So hard.
Liam is like he's like a
and
sloth.
They stay up late. They have a different, growing kids have a different rhythm. But we're talking about us, midlife women right here. We have that natural surge of energy in the morning. We need to take advantage of that. We need to exercise. We need to move. We need to get our goal setting, have our meditation, do those things to set our day up for success, and then wind down. Because I guarantee if you start having really good sleep, that is your self-time. You're like really, I'm excited, It just feels so good to wake up and not be tired. That's better than staying up late to watch a movie any day of the week.
So let's talk about the psychology of why people don't actually spend time on themselves in the morning, especially women, because we're really good. And I think we have a habit of giving energy away to everyone else, everything else. And then there's almost this mentality of reserving, like whatever's left over at the end of the day, that's what I'll take.
Right.
And you're like spinning that whole thing on its head saying, no, like in the morning, you have the most resources available. Yeah. Why not preserve a little bit of that for you?
Oh, totally, right? It's the whole oxygen mask thing. Put your mask on first, then you're going to feel stronger, you're going to be more empowered, and then you will take care of all those people better, right? Or all
Yeah.
of the things. Because when you're exhausted, you're not doing your best job as a mother, as a student, as a, colleague, as any of those things. When you're tired, you're just like trying to survive. That's not the way to bring your gifts to the world, right?
Yeah. So our theme inside of Rumble and Rise this year is power, purpose, and impact.
Yeah.
And what we kind of started the year with was exactly this, like really talking about how do you start your day with power, purpose, and impact?
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, and this is really important for people to hear, we're not talking about like epic routines or like really time, energy and or resource heavy activities. We're just talking about like one or two things. If you have no practices right now, like just spending 5 or 10 minutes getting your head on straight before you try to go out and save the world.
Oh, yeah. And I know you do the same. Coach, where are you at? What could you do that doesn't require a lot? I mean, I listen to my meditation in bed sometimes.
Yeah.
So I have 10 more minutes that I listen to something. Yesterday's, for example, was on, is everything you're doing in alignment with who you are?
Yeah.
That was the trigger I needed to, I'm like, get up, get things done. I have things I want to do. So just actually putting those little teeny pieces, it could be reading in the morning, just with the lamp, not really bright. You don't have to get up and go run outside and unless that's your thing, just something that says, this is my goal for the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And this is where I want to put my resources on purpose.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes and oftentimes we are running by default, which was our whole last episode that we did with defying defaults, because default is just reactivity. Yeah. And it is a big reason I think a lot of women are starting their day already in hyperdrive. So we're not talking about like hyperdrive. We're talking about using cortisol to nurture your well-being. Yeah. In that you dedicate a little bit of that energy to something that would align you with the way that you want to show up for the day.
Yeah. You introduced me to the Miracle Morning, which I love.
Yeah. He just, he has a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put all the things. Yes. And there's a whole, is it on Netflix now too? You can watch it.
Oh, I don't know. I think I heard of this, but I haven't seen it. Okay.
It was good. For those people that don't want to read books, you should watch that. Watch the series about it. But the other one I really like is the 5-minute journal, right? That really starts with, and I always joke because it takes me less than 2.5, right? And that's for the whole day. So you get up and you just grab your journal and you can I'm just going to give you the tips right here. You write 3 things you're grateful for, right? That shifts your mindset right away from being hyper worried about the day. You're like, I'm grateful for 3 things, and try to make them different every day. Mm-hmm. Then you come up with 3 things that would make your day awesome. Yeah. Whatever that would be. If I exercised, if I eat well, whatever. Those 3 things would make my day awesome. And then set one intention. That's it. That's all you have to do. Right? And those things can be the dishes are done. It doesn't matter. Just very simple things that would make your day awesome. And at the end of the day, you say, what went well? What went well? 3 things that went well today. And you find 3 things of joy. And then only one thing that you could do better tomorrow. Yeah. It literally takes 2.5 minutes. And it's so empowering because you're like, okay, I said I wanted to go for a walk, get the dishes done, and eat vegetables. You can do that. You can intentionally set some very simple strategies that make your whole day so much better.
Yeah. And what I love about this is I feel like it is the gateway to taking radical responsibility for how you're showing up in your life.
Right.
Because taking radical responsibility requires radical honesty. And a lot of us don't like that fact.
No.
We just want to kind of move on and try and basically commit to new behaviors without understanding why we did what we did that got us into this pickle. And so this whole idea of kind of looking at the end, taking the end of the day to reassess what went well. Yeah. And how are you going to use what you learned today to move forward tomorrow a little more wisely? It's like we stop ditching this concept that we have failed in some way, but rather we're just perpetually learning. Yeah. And we're just perpetually improving. And that deloads a ton of stress.
Oh, totally. And if you can be excited about something that went well at the end of the day and just one thing you're going to change or do better at, That's out of your mind when you go to sleep. Now you don't go to bed worrying about everything, because we can't handle all the things at once anyway. We're never going to be able to tackle 27 big things all at one time. But if you break it down, that's going to make it more simple and have less in your mind as you're trying to wind down and go to sleep.
Yeah. And on this mindset piece, because I do think this is it's a gentle gateway to enter when we're trying to improve sleep. It's to just start paying attention to the self-narrative and even the narrative you have about sleep itself.
Yes.
Because I can't tell you the number of clients I've coached over the years who say I'm a terrible sleeper.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if that's your identity, that's what you're going to keep looking for evidence to reinforce.
Yeah.
So let's say that like I'm right now I'm having some challenges sleeping, but I'm a great sleeper, or I'm working on becoming a great sleeper.
Yeah.
But the way you talk about sleep, or the way you talk about giving yourself permission to wind down at the end of the day has everything to do with whether or not you will actually follow through.
Yes. Right. So maximizing that cortisol, that natural wake up moment in the morning to take care of yourself, and then taking advantage of the fact that it's dark and your body actually wants to slow down. And you just said it, giving yourself permission to start to wind down. Because guess what? Will the whole world fall apart if that load of laundry doesn't get done at 11 o'clock at night? No, it won't. Right? Can you teach your teenager to wash their school uniform or their whatever uniform they need so that you're not doing it at 10 o'clock at night? Yes, you can. But having that time to really dim the lights, get off the screen, read, do something that's more calming will set yourself up for better sleep anyway.
Yeah. So interestingly, like LED lights have a tremendous amount of blue light in them, which I didn't actually know until I took this course on sort of light and how it affects our mitochondria. And so I changed a lot of the light bulbs in my home to the Edison incandescent bulbs. I just bought them on Amazon. I bought these giant packages of them. And now at like 7 o'clock at night, because, in the Northwest, it gets dark at like 5. So around 7 o'clock, I start turning those lights on. And it kind of mimics like a fire or like low candlelight. And it really is. It's not just me. I see it in my dog. I see it in my husband and my kid. Like everybody's nervous system just starts to decompress. And by 9 o'clock, we're ready for bed.
Yeah, it's crazy. We all of these advances to be more energy sufficient, all of these things that we've shifted in our lighting really affects our sleep. And on that, the amber blue light blocking glasses are super helpful as well. I was like, I don't know about this. So my husband and I got them. We put them on at 8 o'clock on a winter night when it's definitely dark outside. We weren't ready to go to bed. We put these on. We're watching a movie. We were yawning within 30 minutes. Because it blocks that blue light and mimics that firelight or that sunset light. And your body gets a chance to go, oh, wait, it is time to wind down. Right?
And there's also, I don't know if you've heard, I'm almost afraid to, it's called Iris. It's an app that you can just get on your computer. It's very cheap. Like you can do, I think, a free trial for 14 days. But if you are someone who works on your computer early in the morning or late at night, in order to avoid all this blue light exposure, it naturally turns the lighting towards the orange tinge, and it's super effective. So there's apps, there's the glasses
on your phone. There's
the phone too.
But don't try to work on graphic stuff when that happens because the colors are wrong.
Probably not. Instagram becomes very uninteresting.
You're like it really does because everything you're like, oh, I can't see the things the same. And then I had Darren came in. He's like, "What's wrong with your computer?" I'm like, "Well, it's telling me it's time to get off."
Exactly.
Unscripted. It's time for me to get off the computer.
Exactly. So you can actually just Google, if you're listening to this, you can just Google how to create a shortcut to get your phone to kind of that more orangey red light in the evening and early morning hours. Like for me, all I have to do now is click the side button 2 or 3 times and it switches to an orange screen.
I think I'm looking, mine's called f.lux, flux.
I used that years ago too. And it's really awesome for sure.
So there's settings on your phone as well. You can get in there and set those too.
So just to recap where we've been so far, because it's a lot and it's going to stack up to a lot. But basically that you definitely getting in the habit of utilizing some of your morning time to help you manage your brain and manage your life in a way that helps you to unpack stress.
Yeah.
So we're using cortisol, which is a stress hormone, but we're using it to kind of wake up and become alert and give our lives some of the attention that it needs to not live in such a stressful way. So I love that. Definitely evaluating the self-narrative about how you talk to yourself about sleep, how you talk to yourself in general, because that can be a huge stressor for so many women. Just paying attention to light exposure. So getting outdoors and getting natural light in your eyes is so important. But also using kind of these blue blockers or these sort of orange and red tinges on the devices can be super helpful. And starting to kind of build an evening routine of winding down and not doing things that are super stimulating can all be really effective. Let's talk for a second about exercise. Because I know for me, when I don't exercise, I don't sleep.
Yeah.
And it's a thing. And and it's tricky, isn't it? Because if we aren't sleeping, the last thing we want to do is go exercise.
Yeah.
So how do we make amends with that?
So yeah, totally. I get it. I've been there, all the things. But let's think about your dog or your children. What happens to them if you just keep them in the house all day?
Oh yeah, it's not
Do
good.
they sleep?
No. Well, Sully does, but Liam does not.
Right, I know. Yes, Otis does too. But what happens if they don't get to go run around? They have all this built up energy. You know that, right? The dogs too. The dogs need to be out. You need to take them for a walk. You need to do all these things to keep them healthy. We have to follow those same rules.
Yeah.
And you know that if you're a midlife woman and have all these stresses that we've been talking about, how much energy is pent up in your body? You need to get that out. And the best way to do that is using your body. And it doesn't have to be this extreme exercise program. This could be going for a walk. Get outside and go for a 20-minute walk. This does not have to take your whole day. This is like right now when it's, really, really cold outside. This can be, guess what? I'm going to go organize something in the basement and take loads one at a time. Take only one box at a time so that I'm up and down the stairs. Anything you can do to move. The problem is we don't even move at all.
Yeah. Just looking for opportunities.
Yes, we're just stuck. So all of this is crazy. And then we try to go to bed and our body's like, I have all this energy built up. I have all of this stuff built up and you haven't moved all day. So movement is really, really important so that you can sleep at night. Let the energy go during the day so you can bring it back in at night.
Yeah. Love it. And I have seen, the number of people I've coached over the years who came in terrible sleepers, but then once they became regular exercisers, how much that shifted their sleep quality and quantity was significant.
Yeah. And then even on that, the early exercising, that sounds so terrible, right? And it was like, I don't know if I can do that. If you commit to that and you do it and you get up and start exercising in the morning, you'll be surprised at how quickly you are ready to go to bed at 8:30 at night.
Oh, yeah.
Your body will just be awesome. We had a great day. I had energy to get through the day because I worked out. Now I'm like, yeah, it's bedtime.
Yeah.
And you'll notice you want to go to bed earlier so you have energy to get up. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Okay, let's talk about food just briefly because food, and I'm going to include alcohol in the food component, right? Because these are, two things that I've definitely experienced as a perimenopausal, thick in the throes of perimenopause, is that while my body absolutely needs carbohydrates, I am so much more sensitive to the quality of carbohydrates that I consume.
Yes.
So a lot of refined flours, sugars, things of that nature, I don't feel good. And I don't typically sleep well because I don't sleep well when I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And then alcohol, I could even just look at it and not sleep. It's just become really, it's great in a lot of ways because I just don't have the desire to drink.
Right.
At all.
Right.
I was never a big drinker, but I would definitely have wine and stuff with my husband. And now it's just like, okay, what's the real price for this I'm going to pay? And when I really calculate the cost, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'll go to sleep really easily. And then at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, it's party time.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. When we talk about this is where the insulin and the blood sugar come in, right? So what we're eating late at night is going to affect what happens when we sleep. So if we're having, and let's be honest, when do you want to have ice cream? Late at night, right? You want to have this ice cream sundae, or you want to munch on chips when you're having the blue light. So let's put all these together. It's a recipe for disaster.
But we can give you an easy recipe for staying awake all night.
Yes, we can do it. And once again, we don't have the resilience the same way in our midlife, but we're having that snack at night or whatever it can be. And usually it's carb dominant. That's just how we tend to be at night. So we go to sleep, but when we eat those carbohydrates, that causes our blood sugar to rise, that causes our insulin to rise, and that tells hey, it's time to get up. Right? This whole pattern says, hey, let's get up and play. And you go to sleep because it doesn't just happen instantly, but then you have this rise in blood sugar, and then guess where it has to go? It has to go down.
Yeah.
And so what I'm seeing more and more is that when you're waking up in the middle of the night, it's because your blood sugar has dropped. And now your body's like, oh crap, we need more blood sugar. So the cortisol comes in, wakes you up because it's trying to help get everything back in balance.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of crazy. And this past year, I wore a glucose sensor on my arm.
Yeah.
Right. And it was really fascinating to watch. The night that I had like some snack or something that was high carbohydrate and I went to sleep, and I probably could have slept through, but the thing went off thinking I was dying because it set, for diabetic, it doesn't want you to get low. And sure enough, I looked over and I'm like, oh my gosh, my blood sugar just tanked. It went from this high, it spiked high with my snack and then bottomed out. So my body literally is trying to save my life because of this low blood sugar drop. But when you are not diabetic, that's just really just disrupting your sleep.
Yeah.
And it feels bad.
So what about, because I run into this as well, not so much in my life, but I've run into it a lot with clients where they do need to eat something before they go to bed because if they don't have if they eat at 6:00 at night and they don't go to bed till 10, they might not sleep well because they're literally hungry. And same reason, their blood sugar's low, but not from the crash, just from being, away from food for so long. So if someone is going to eat before they go to bed, what do we suggest? Protein, fat?
Yeah, just to make it mixed. Don't have don't have just carbohydrates. There's a lot of different theories out there. Some say you have to have a little carbs. That's going to help with your adrenals and your thyroid, but it needs to not be that high carbohydrate snack that we did in our 20s. Right. When we were staying up and watching Grey's Anatomy reruns or whatever, Friends and things like that. So eat something, that's okay. Sometimes a protein shake or, apple and peanut butter, any of those things that are healthy snacks, those are going to just be nice because they're going to help keep our blood sugar stable. And then if you're interested, get a CGM, monitor that, find the things. That's kind of really fun if you're into actually seeing what works best for you because we're all so different. I do have a colleague, you'd think that your glucose wouldn't spike with avocado. It does with her.
Yeah.
Right. That's so just weird. Right. So everybody's different. Being able to see that, or even wearing that as well, getting to an argument with my husband right before bed, same thing, spikes the blood sugar because of the stress. And then there's going to be a blood sugar drop when I go to bed. So it's really interesting to see how your habits affect your cortisol response and your blood sugar response, both of which disrupt your sleep.
I love this point because I think that so often when we think of glucose monitors, we think of, well, it's going to tell me about how food affects my body. Yeah. But what you just said there is just so key. No, it tells you about how stress affects your blood sugar. Yeah. And yes, food can be a stressor, but so can an argument with your husband or not sleeping for a night or when you're exercising or you haven't exercised. I really think it gives people probably such a more informed view of things that they probably never really considered to be stressors.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing too, wearing that on the days that I exercise in the morning, blood sugar stayed more stable throughout the whole day. So to actually see that, right? And you and I have had that conversation for how many, 20 plus years?
Yeah, probably at least.
But to actually see it in real-time data, I wasn't even making it up. It was real. It's real. Getting up and having that morning cortisol, taking advantage of that sets your whole day up for success and your body's success for winding down and sleeping.
Yeah. And this is such a great segue into kind of data-driven information, which I think you obviously do such an awesome job of literally providing people with. So, because I do think data for a lot of humans is incredibly motivating, right? When you can see what your body composition is made up of, or when you can see where your hormones actually are, or you can see what your glucose levels are doing when certain things happen in your life. I think that just really helps people to understand that, there is value here.
Yeah.
this is affecting me in profound ways.
Mhm.
And we can theorize about it all day long. We can read about it all day long.
Yeah.
But when we actually see our data, it's like, oh, that is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's part of that radical responsibility that you're talking about, because to actually see it in real time means you're going to have to address it in real time.
exactly. So when we have somebody who has been wrestling with sleep for a really long time, they have done all the things, like most of the things that we've talked about, maybe not all of them perfectly, but they're doing a lot of them, and they're not getting headway, and they're not improving the quality of sleep or the quantity of sleep. Where would you take them? Like, what would you suggest to them?
So a couple of things in midlife, as we are, hormones are shifting, and first and foremost, progesterone starts to decline. So for many women, progesterone can be a game changer. Yeah. Now, even prior to adding progesterone, magnesium.
Yeah.
Because as progesterone declines, our need for magnesium goes up and up and up. Yeah. So just this is personal story. This is me. I never supplemented with magnesium. I knew it was important. As soon as I got into my 40s, I started supplementing with magnesium, and I have quite a hefty dose now, right? And that's just how I work, right? We need magnesium for so many things, but it's a calming nutrient. Yeah. So if you've got that restless leg or you're getting cramps at night, those are all signs of maybe not enough magnesium. So what's the worst thing that can happen? It's going to help relax you and you don't have leg cramps. The other thing, low progesterone can constipate you. Magnesium helps on that end too. So we've got supporting sleep, bowel movements, and muscle relaxation. So magnesium can be a great way to start, and then progesterone when it's time.
Yeah. And highlighting too that I think for like the active midlife woman, magnesium becomes even more important. So it's like we already have a need for it, just being an American, just being in this country with soil that's depleted in it.
Yes.
And then in midlife, we have even more of a need for it. And then if you are more active, your need even escalates more. So I'm with you. Like magnesium is one of my non-negotiables. And
totally.
I notice a difference when I stop taking it. Yeah. I just notice I'm more amped up. My joints hurt more. I don't sleep as well. I'm more constipated, all the things you just mentioned. So magnesium is cheap. It's so easy to supplement with. This is always a question that comes up. So let's just address it. There's thousands of forms of magnesium.
There are.
Glycinate and chelated are one and the same. And typically those are what I will recommend to people to start with. But I'm sure you have some thoughts on this. So what are your recommendations for the type of magnesium that people should be using?
I do like the glycinate. If bowels are an issue, I might say the citrate. Okay. In reality, magnesium is magnesium is magnesium. Okay. The form of it adds a little specialty, if you will, but it'll all get in the body. Yeah. So the other thing to pay attention, if it's affecting your GI tract, if it's making you have loose stool, maybe you need a different form. Yeah. Right? Different forms are better for brain health. Malate is better for energy. There's all these forms, but you could take malate at night and it's not going to wake you up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So looking for a high quality, and biglycinate is probably the top one I recommend, and then citrate as needed for bowel motility.
Okay. Yeah. And the other thing I remind people of is sometimes I will go through periods, especially in the winter, where I'm like, any form I can get, I will take. So I'll take Epsom salt baths. I will use magnesium lotions, which have 125 milligrams per teaspoon. It's pretty significant. Yeah. So there's lots of ways that you can get magnesium in. But supplementing
fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables. Let's not forget those. Those little guys, yeah.
But as you're stressed, eating too many carbs and not going to bed, you're going to be more magnesium deficient, right? Yeah. So that's the other thing, is that a lot of women will come and say, well, I've never taken supplements forever. I'm like, well, you've also never been perimenopausal before. Yeah. Right? You've never had this kind of stress on your plate. You've never been at this stage of your life. So you should adjust accordingly.
And I love you do such a good job when you do presentations and stuff of really illustrating to women, just how erratic progesterone and estrogen are during the perimenopausal years. And when we kind of look through that lens at our sleep, it just makes a lot of sense why, I have a few great nights of sleep and then I'm awake all night and I can clean the house 10 times over. Yeah. And just realizing that there's just so much fluctuation.
There is.
And it only lasts 15 to 18 years.
That's
right?
it. That's fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. No, but that's the reality, is as you're entering there, those lifestyle things, get those lined up. Get those lined up, because then it becomes easier to add the other strategies. right? Blood sugar can disrupt your sleep and give you hot flashes, right? So that's a big deal. People are trying to figure out that, yes, hormones help, but they should be the last thing that's added. You still have to do all the foundational health things to set you up for hormone replacement success if you choose to go that route.
Yeah. Okay. Supplement wise, a couple things I want to ask you, because these are things that come up a lot. Supplementing with melatonin. Tell me your thoughts on that, because I feel like it can be abused. And I don't know that it should necessarily be something that someone takes long term.
So a couple of things. There is new research out that shows when you take melatonin, you're not ruining your own melatonin production.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad
that's kind
to
of
hear
exciting.
that. That's really exciting.
Yeah. And then the other thing, we kind of alluded to it earlier in the day, is that for a lot of people, they say melatonin causes sleep. That's not exactly true. Darkness causes melatonin production. When we sleep, melatonin helps detox and do all these great things at night. So for some people, they take melatonin, it doesn't help them sleep. Well, that's not its main role. It's actually primarily an antioxidant that goes through and cleans everything up at night. So you want it. But you have to have good sleep hygiene to be able to get your body to produce melatonin on its own. So everybody is unique. You should definitely look into testing. If you're using it as a crutch, then we need to look at your lifestyle. Right? I'm not opposed to people taking it, but there's other things. What's the real issue? Is it a nervous system? Are you all ramped up? Do we need some calming herbs to help calm you so you can naturally produce it? Right? So everybody's going to be a little different, but what's the real reason you're not sleeping? Is it because you're staying up till 12 and you're on TV or on your phone? Melatonin may or may not be helpful.
And then there's more of like the over-the-counter kind of harder things, like the Tylenol PM, the sleeping pills, obviously prescription, and what else? Oh, I had a client recently who was taking Benadryl for months to get to sleep, and I'm like, I don't think that's a great plan. So,
and those are really just knocking us out, right? We're not getting the benefit of melatonin when you take Benadryl. You're just getting the drowsy after effect. So you're losing out on not getting the sleep that you need. It's not going to be a restorative sleep because you're not going to get all the benefits of what happens naturally. So it really is, how do we learn? How do we learn to put the lifestyle, and then what other strategies can we use to support that?
Do you have any tips for, well, actually, let me ask you this first and then we'll go there. CBD. Do you have people who use it? Do you know, are you familiar?
I'm not a specialist in that area, but I have a lot of colleagues and people that love it. It's it's a game changer for them. So
my husband's not a great sleeper, and CBD has been like the one thing that has really seems to help him.
And we have those cannabinoid receptors on every cell of our body. So once again, everyone's unique. Things are going to work differently. But there's great research on that. It's more mainstream now, so it's not as hard to get a hold of, those kind of things. I have seen great success with people using castor oil packs.
Oh, right. I'm glad you brought this up. Okay, so do tell people who may not know what that is.
So castor oil, it's a very thick oil. You apply it to the liver and across your abdomen, and then put on this flannel pack, tie it around, go to sleep. Okay, so it's been used for centuries. It gets within the dermis of the skin. It helps support the detox pathways. It helps support digestive health. And what's most important at night is that having that pack pressed against your midsection actually stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it reduces inflammation and calms your nervous system to help you sleep. So a lot of my clients actually report better sleeping when they wear it, myself included. When I wear my...
And so for those of you who are listening to this that might be interested in ordering a castor oil pack, because I know you have resources for this, we'll put your links there. But I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is something I would not have asked.
No, and it does a lot of things though. So for example, we all need to detox for hormone health. We all need to poop for hormone health. Castor oil pack supports all of those. Right. Helps with cramps, helps with all kinds of things. So it's a nice, it's a little weird. If you've never done it, it's weird. Right. But
it's different. But hey, man, if what you're doing isn't working, something different is a great thing.
It was
no conversation with Laini Gray would be complete if we didn't talk about poop. So I just want to address the role that gut health plays in maybe disrupting sleep. And then we'll just kind of recap and give some really concrete tips to listeners. But what is the role that gut health plays in our sleep cycle? And how can the disruption of our microbiome affect our sleep?
Great question. So probably, I hope everybody by now has heard of the gut-brain axis, right? And so what happens in your gut doesn't stay in your gut. It actually goes directly to your brain. So within your gut, we produce most of our neurotransmitters, our serotonin. Melatonin is highly produced in the gut.
Oh, good
Ding, 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 ding,
reminder.
ding, ding. So the healthier your gut is, the healthier your production of neurotransmitters to make you happy and to sleep are going to be. And those little messengers and everything that's in your gut travel up the vagus nerve to your brain. So if you've got anxiety, depression, all of those things, supporting gut health can be paramount to all the things.
And so when we talk about supporting gut health, we are talking specifically about not consuming things that would obviously disrupt gut health, which would be things like probably processed foods, sugars, alcohol,
all the
of this
things.
nature.
Yes. And stress.
And stress.
Staying up late at night and not getting enough sleep disrupt your gut microbiome.
Yeah. And so we support our gut microbiome by obviously unpacking stress from our life.
Yes. By moving our body. Yeah, all the things.
Also, obviously our diet. So lots of fiber, lots of vegetables, things of this nature, which are kind of the prebiotic. They feed the good bacteria. And what else? Like I know like probiotics is always something people are going to ask about.
Probiotics can be very helpful. Chewing our food, adding digestive aids so that our food's broken down and we can, work that better. Making sure we're having a bowel movement every day. All of these things, right? We've had that conversation a lot. But the interesting thing, and this is back to our first episode together, was on gut health.
Was it? I have to go back and look. I remember. It was so long ago.
And it really was. It was after I wrote my master's thesis. And so we got to the end of it and I was like, okay, we're going to have all the secret information I'm going to learn about how to fix gut health.
I do remember this because I've never said microbiome so much in my life. I was like,
you said that, and when we came back to it, I was like, guess what, Court? It's the same stuff we talk about all the time. Drink water, eat vegetables, move your body, get rest, reduce your stress. That's how you support your gut microbiome. It's very resilient. And so the cool thing though about it is that it doesn't take years and years and decades to heal it. It takes a good day of healthy behaviors.
Amazing.
One day can shift your gut microbiome.
So good. So good. Okay. So if you were going to tell somebody, a listener, one of these listeners today, maybe like 3 to 5 things that you think are game changers or just essential, like linchpins to quality sleep, what would they be?
Getting morning sunlight.
Okay.
And movement in the morning.
Yeah.
Having a nighttime routine so that you calm down.
Wind down. Yeah.
Okay. Add magnesium because you need it anyway.
Yeah.
And then consider other strategies like a castor oil pack, essential oils, a nighttime bath, any of those things that can really calm your nervous system to prepare you for sleep. When we want to run a marathon, we prepare for days and months and even years to be our best. We need to be preparing on a daily basis to have good sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And nervous system health is it's such a big component of all of it because it literally affects every system in the human body and it's dramatically affected by stress.
Yes.
And so, and that, again, that stress could be just psychological stress. It could be, it's for some people, it's like the past trauma stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be a lot of different layers. And so this whole piece of nervous system health, which you and I always talk about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, but really starting to maybe educate yourself a little bit about the nervous system and what it does and how it heals. I know you know this. I always bring on Irene Lyon because I'm just such a fan of her work. And I think that she's really great at speaking to that topic. But I feel like every health conversation is always circling back to this nervous system piece. And that's a big one.
And coming back full circle to talking about resilience and hormones and how that impacts us, as we enter this midlife time and things are a little bit of in flux, it really is a time to dig deep to those thoughts, traumas, toxins that we've been carrying around for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, because that will affect us. So this really is an opportunity for us to get to know ourselves better so that we can heal and have better health moving forward.
Yeah. And I always say it's like midlife is this invitation to renovate,
Yeah.
because it's like there's parts of your life that are awesome and are working really well.
Yeah.
And there's parts of your life that have never worked well,
Yeah.
or that you have just been avoiding because there's a lot of work involved there. And now you just don't get to get away with it anymore. Like
No.
it's a call to action.
It is.
And
that's exciting. That's
It
exciting.
is exciting. Totally agreed.
This is not the end. We're not at the end of life. We're actually at the second act. You say that all the time. Second act. Here we go.
Yeah. So if someone is listening today and they want to find out more about you, more about the testing you do, work with you, where do we send them?
My website is graystarhealth.com. So you can learn about me there. And then I'm most active on Instagram at laini.gray.
I love it. And you're great to follow on Instagram. Lots of good tips and useful information.
All the things.
Awesome. And I will just tell listeners too that inside of Rumble and Rise every month, we do what we call a base camp section of our teachings. And base camp is always geared towards biochemistry, like helping you to take care of the basic necessities of keeping your body happy and healthy. And so our focus in January is on reworking kind of your restoration methods, because restoration is much bigger than just sleep, right?
Yeah.
It's just having time in the day to decompress, take a few breaths, maybe leaning into some creative arts. Like it can look like all kinds of things. But if that is something that you need a little bit of help with, Rumble and Rise is an amazing space to do that in. So you can find out all about Rumble and Rise membership at graceandgrit.com/ready to rumble. And that's it. I adore you, my friend. I'm always so appreciative of you coming on here. And any final words?
No, I'm just I'm like excited to get around with my day so I can have a good sleep.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, until next time, I'm sure you'll be back.
Right. Yes. Thanks,
right.
Courtney.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Grace and Grit podcast. It is time to mend the fabric of the female health story. And it starts with you taking radical responsibility for your own self-care. You are worth the effort. And with a little grace and grit, anything is possible.